Hi everyone, it's Suzanne with Love and Pieces. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I wanted to share with you the alternative cards that I came up with from this month's Paper Pumpkin Kit, the December 2023 All the Best. I say this month, it's still December 31st, so I got a couple hours. It's still this month's kit. I really like the paper pumpkins. They give you a lot of supplies, all-inclusive kit that really all you need to add is maybe a pair of scissors, possibly a few other tools, but you get everything you need to make some really beautiful cards, and you can see those here on the front. And a lot of other content creators will take the paper pumpkins and, really go extreme, or, really start trying to turn them into a lot of different things. Sometimes that inspiration hits me. Sometimes I like the cards just as they are, or the projects just as they are, and I make them exactly as the instructions show. This time was kind of in the middle. I really liked the cards that could be created from this kit, but one of the things that whenever I see this, I usually do modify. The card bases that they sent us in this kit were printed on both the front and the back. And so when I get those kits, I usually do cut them in half, and that at least doubles most of the time the number of cards that I can get out of the kit, or at least it gives me some other pieces to kind of work with. When I do that, I know I'm going to have to put in my own bases. And so that opens up some possibilities and some needs for maybe matching some other colors or some ink, and those types of things. So that's kind of where this paper pumpkin started for me, was seeing those double-sided card bases and thinking, okay, let me cut those apart first. Now, as I've said on other videos, I'm recovering from knee replacement surgery, so I'm on my couch. Hopefully this might be my last week in here. I hope to get back into my craft room, but I'm going to have to clean it up before I can do anything in there. It's been a mess for a while. So I really just wanted to pull out a few supplies, and I thought this might be a good time to kind of share with some of you who get paper pumpkin, or who have some ideas or some starting places, but you don't have everything that maybe some of the other inspiration creators or some of the other content that you've seen uses. So I wanted to talk with you about, how do I come up with those things I use to modify or make alternatives for a paper pumpkin. I did get this one, and because I was bored and on my couch, I ripped it open and started in it as soon as I got it, and did not film any of the first parts. I think you've probably seen a lot of unboxing videos. If you haven't, you might look at them. Paper Pumpkin actually puts out one, like their official unboxing video, and shows you how to make the cards per the... Sorry, I got distracted because all of a sudden my camera went blurry. There we go. But the Paper Pumpkin people, Stampin' Up, actually put out a video that shows you the unboxing, all the parts and pieces, and how to make the cards as the instructions show. So if you're looking for that, maybe go search for that video. I want to start with you on where I decided what to pull out to work on alternatives. So I'm going to scoot this aside for just a second. We'll come back to that. So in this paper pumpkin, we got a lot of punch outs. And so I really liked those. I knew I would be able to make them stretch. And so I knew I was using those. We got some embellishments. We got some twine. Put that over there with the embellishments. We got blank sentiment pieces that we could stamp. Oops, got those in the wrong category. Let me go those. So these are two that actually came out of the kit themselves, a circle and then this kind of, corner cut, corner rounded square piece. There was also a banner. I used all of those, but it was a gold rimmed banner, and you'll see those on the cards. Then we got an ink spot. This one was Pebbled Path to match and coordinate with the colors in the kit. Let's get that up a little bit. And then we get a stamp set, and this has some really cute replications of the design that's on the punch outs and on the card bases. These are dandelions. And then the sentiments, hello friend, wishing you all the best, 1,000 good luck wishes, and then just a few, of the dandelion pieces. So just a small stamp set to go with it. So that's what came in the kit, along with the card bases, which I've used all of them. I trimmed them up and used them. I looked at what we got and then I started thinking, okay, let me look in those same categories for embellishments that I could bring out. So let's start over here with our embellishments. This is what came with the kit. A very, very light blue, almost clear look once you get them on, faceted embellishment. Very pretty. But I went to my embellishment storage and I started looking for things that I thought would work. And the first thing I came across was these kind of almost similar to those, but they're in the yellow family. So I had a couple of sheets of those. I pulled those out. I found some faceted blue. I have quite a few of these, so I was actually looking for a way to use them. I thought that would work and bring in a little bit more sparkle and shine. So these are like opalescent or rainbow, whatever you want to call those. Pulled those out. And then I looked for something metallic gold because there was a lot of gold embellishments on the card designs and then also on the sentiment stamps. So I found these gold sequins and they were on a sheet that also had some blue sequins. So I pulled those out thinking I could use either one of those. Didn't really think I would use the white ones, but that was just on the sheet. So I took the lead from their embellishments and I went and looked for some of my own out of my own stash. Next, they gave us some twine. This is the linen thread. So I went and looked in the twine and ribbon that I had, and I pulled out these pieces. This is some Stampin' Up! Ribbon. Let's see, what is this? This is, does it tell me? No, maybe this isn't Stampin' Up! You know, I've said I have a lot of Stampin' Up! Supplies, but then I have a lot of supplies from other places as well. But this is just some thin yellow kind of mesh ribbon, got a little bit of a sparkle to it. I thought that would be pretty to pull out some of the yellow accents. And then I had these linen, you know, baker's twine, whatever you want to call it. This one is a yellow and white, and then this is blue and white. I don't believe these are Stampin' Up! I think these might have come from Dollar Tree. Like I said, I get my supplies a lot of places. I try to keep my Stampin' Up! Labeled, but I'm also just I'm not a purist. I will use whatever works. So I pulled out those two pieces of twine. Next, they sent us Pebbled Path ink. And I did look at the colors that are in the Stampin' Up! The Paper Pumpkin kit. It will tell you on the back what colors coordinate. But I looked and I did not have, let's see, components, coordinating Stampin' Up! Colors. There we go. I did not have the Balmy Blue ink yet. I've got it ordered. I only had crushed curry in a small ink spot. No, I think I take that back. I did find my crushed curry. I only have Old Olive in a small ink spot. And they gave us Pebbled Path and then gold. So I went and looked. I didn't have Balmy Blue. I found my crushed curry. I didn't want to use the Old Olive. The ink spots are hard for me to use, so I didn't pull that one out. I came up with, I got my black Memento because black is always a good option, so I did pull that. Like I said, my crushed curry, see if I can get this in focus, crushed curry Stampin' Up! Ink. And then when I was looking at it and stamped it and started playing with it, I liked Tahitian Tide. It's a little bit of a brighter blue, but it adds a nice contrast, in my opinion, to the blues that are used, the light balmy blue that's used in the kit. So I pulled out those ink pads to use with the ink spot that they sent. I looked at what they sent for the sentiment squares. So, you know, it's real easy to cut a square and use that. It's real easy to punch circles. Banners are easy to cut. So I just kind of stuck with that theme of circles, squares, and banners. So I went and pulled out 3 of my circle punches. This is a 2 3/8 inch, and these are all Stampin' Up. But that's the 2 3/8 inch, the 1 3/4, and the 2 inch. And I knew I would use those somehow. From that, I did get some scrap white, and I cut some banners. Those are real easy to cut, just strips. And then if you don't know how to tail the end, you just cut up the middle a little ways, however far you want your banner or your tails to go. You just cut up the middle and then you cut from each side to the middle and you'll get that nice pretty tailed end. So I made a few of those. I punched a few of the circles and kind of added to my sentiment box. And I don't know that I used one of these on the cards. I might have. Sometimes when I do banners like that, they can kind of look a little plain, especially if they're thick. So I don't know if you can tell here, but I added just a little bit of yellow paper to the edges of this one. That's the back side. You can see where it's added, just to give a little dimension, because that mimicked also what was on the punch out from the kit. It had a gold border all the way around. I just added the yellow on the two sides to kind of add some interest. So I created some of my own sentiment strips to use. I didn't have anything in the punch category. Now, when I'm looking for items, when I'm looking in my own stash for items similar to this, I'll look at stickers. I'll look at maybe other punches that I've got, anything that could recreate this type of embellishment. I knew I had quite a few of these, so I wasn't concerned about looking too hard, and I wasn't seeing anything that matched, so I just kind of stopped with what they gave us. Lay those aside. And then the last one is the stamps. So these are the stamps they sent us. I do know that Stampin' Up! Has a lot of old retired stamps, or I have a lot of old Stampin' Up! Retired stamps that match the paper pumpkins that are coming out. I'm kind of seeing, a cycle that some of the new stuff is matching old stamp sets that I have. So I went back and looked, and sure enough, where did I put them? I had this stamp set, an old retired one called Dandelion Wishes. It's got larger stamps of the dandelion. It's got a couple other sentiments to use. So I pulled that out. And then I also found the Dandelion Wishes. I don't think that's what it's called. It's just called Dandelions. And that was a 3D embossing folder that they had out at one time. I went ahead and pulled it out. This image is a little bit large for the A2 size cards that I was working on. When I pulled it, I wasn't really sure I would use it, and I ended up not using it either. But I went and started pulling from my stash other stamp sets that could coordinate or work with, just in case I needed them. I think I used this part of this stamp. I think I used the small one, and then I did use... I think I used all three of those sentiments just to have a variation. I did not use that stamp, but these are old red rubber if you're looking for them. So that's what I do. I look at what they send us, then I kind of just go through my stash and look in those same categories and start trying to figure out what do I have, what could I use. Oh yeah, there was one more thing. I did pull out a corner rounder. I didn't have the indented corner rounder. Let me pull one of these back up. Like this one to cut down into the corner. I had just a corner rounder, so I pulled that out and I used it on one card, I think. I think I mostly used the banners and the circles as far as adding sentiment strips. And then I even had a couple of these left over that I can use on other cards. So that, let me scan around me, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. That plus my tools. Oh, no, wait a minute. The other part. Excuse me. Because I cut up my card bases, I knew I was going to need card bases. I keep a stack of card bases cut and ready. It usually comes from scraps when I'm working on other projects. So I just went and pulled out all my white ones, all my yellow ones, and the blues. Now, I did actually have a few Tahitian Tide, which I said that was the ink that I'd pulled out. So I grabbed those. These are, I don't know if they're Balmy Blue or Boho Blue, and I'm not even sure they're Stampin' Up! Because this is a lighter weight cardstock than Stampin' Up! Usually is. So I'm going to say these are not Stampin' Up! Products, or not a Stampin' Up! Cardstock. But the blue actually works well with the light blue, especially the way I've matted it sometimes. So I pulled those, some yellow, and then just a couple white. I have one left. So I want to show you something on this one. I actually made a mistake on these when I was making them. I don't know if you can see it. Do you see right there? I've got a score line in the wrong spot. When I made these bases, I scored them at the wrong place. They're supposed to be at 4 1/4, and I think these are like 3 3/4 or something. I went the wrong direction. So I had a few of these. They've just been in my stash. I'm not a huge yellow fan. I don't do a lot with yellow because they were also mis-scored. I didn't really know what to do with them. But it kind of hit me how I could use those. I pulled them out thinking they might be scraps. You know, I might punch from them or something. But I'll show you what I wound up doing with those. I actually turned an accident into kind of a little bit of an inspiration there. So I pulled out all the card bases I had that I thought would work. And I even had a few other darker colors, random from card packs and things like that. So this is just what's left over. I just pulled out all of my, what I thought would be coordinating card bases. I also keep card fronts. So like sometimes when I'm making cards or doing things and say I used one of those, maybe I needed one of those card bases and I used it as a scrap, I might have the front piece left. Or when I'm cutting down white or other pieces, if I've got something that's kind of a bigger piece, but it's not full enough to make a card base, I'll go ahead and cut them into card fronts. And these are just pieces that I use to layer or design the front of my card. I had several white. I had several of that, what I don't think is a Stampin' Up! Cardstock in the blue. I had one or two in Tahitian Tide, and I went ahead and pulled out some sheets of Tahitian Tide because I really liked that. But again, I just went through my card fronts and pulled out what I thought would coordinate. If you don't keep card fronts or card bases, this is the time to go look at your cardstock stash and see what you can pull out. I didn't pull out any scraps because I kind of thought I would generate a lot of scraps in this, and I did. So this is kind of the scrap pile I wound up with. Strips from trimming down those card bases and making them in a matting layer, and shortening them. Same thing with all my other pieces. I needed some circles, so I just sacrificed a card base because I had several of them and punched. So that's the scraps I generated. These pieces I always hold on to till the very end because sometimes they go on the inside of the card to decorate. Occasionally I'll come up with some inspiration to use them in other places, but most of the time once I'm done with the paper pumpkin, this kind of scrap I'll toss. But I do keep them to use on the inside of these cards till these are all finished. So that's the only scrap I had, was what was generated from trimming all this down. So now let's look at the cards themselves. And the reason I'm doing this is not so that you can mimic the cards I've made, but to help you find inspiration and kind of start learning how to shop your own stash. Look for what you've got that could work with them, and just open up your own creative juices. So I'm just going to dive in. I don't have these in any specific order. This was one of the card bases that came with the kit. It's got this white dandelion print on the front. The back was just a solid blue, so I cut that apart and used it for matting layers on other pieces. I just matted it on some white, and then I put it on that non-Stampin' Up! Cardstock. Separating it with that white really does make the colors work together. It gives kind of a shading appearance. This is the stamp from the set. This is one of the sentiment circles from the step, and then I just cut apart one of the punch outs and added it to each side. The reason I did that, this was connected in like a circle, and no matter where I turned it, one of the flowers was upside down, and so it kind of bothered me, and so I had to cut them apart. I added some of those these are the gold embellishments that I pulled out of my stash, and some of that yellow baker's twine from my stash. The inside, this is a standard fold card. I glued another one of I'm trying to make it focus here a little better. I glued one of the cutouts just on the inside to add some interest. Now, I want to say this here because I think you'll notice it in some of my other cards. I'm not good at focusing, y'all. I'm so sorry. This is not Stampin' Up! Cardstock, and it's a little flimsy. That's how I can tell. I might not have needed to add a white layer inside to write my message on. This is light enough that a black pen, dark blue pen would have showed up just fine. But when I make cards, especially when I've got a lot of layers on the front, I don't like for the back to feel flimsy, and this really did in comparison, because this is, you know, this is Stampin' Up! Products on the top, even though it's not Stampin' Up! For a base, and this back just really felt flimsy. So the white piece here is not so much about giving me a place to write, but is kind of bulking up this back piece so that the card feels balanced when you open it. So that's just a tip on some of your cards as well, if you want to consider that. This is another one of the styles. This was a matting layer that was actually supposed to go on one of the sheets, and it covered up the blue sky background that it went on, and I didn't like that. I could use those cards in something else, so I just matted this whole gold embossed layer onto light blue, and then this is a different colored dark blue card base that I had. Again, I think this is one of the circles that I punched. I added my gold sequin embellishments, but that is the stamp from the set. Added an inside layer to bulk it up, and then added one of the cutouts from the kit. That's a little gold flower, just to give some interest on the inside. This is close to what one of the original card designs looked like. This is the front, or this is part of the card base. The back side looked exactly like this, and I thought that was just too pretty to put on the back side of a card, so that's why I wanted to cut them apart and have these to go on the front. I matted it with white, used a homemade banner with some of the linen thread from the kit, and then a couple of those blue sequins on the back side. Now this dark blue is dark enough I needed a white layer, but again, it also helped with this making it more stable, more balanced. And on the inside, I chose to use the stamp from the kit with that Tahitian Tide ink and just stamp one of the dandelions. So that was another variation. These two are similar, just different colors. Again, that pretty front card base, the blue sequins, Hello Friend. I did add some of the little loose dandelion petals. I think this is from the Dandelion Wishes set that I had, not from the stamp that came with the kit. The Hello Friend is from the kit. Just punched a circle, punched a larger circle, and added it to the card base. I layered it with a card front that I had that's kind of that darker blue, and I really like how that sets it off. Let me see if I can kind of get a better angle on my camera there. It seems to be falling. So that was another one. And on the inside, this was light enough that I could write on it. It's Stampin' Up! Cardstock, so it's pretty sturdy. I didn't feel like it needed that white layer, and so I just stamped from that other retired stamp set part of that big dandelion to kind of pull in those loose ones from the front. Almost the same card, similar concept. I added twine to this one, didn't stamp it, and used the yellow embellishments. Again, opened it up. This time I did add the white because this is that non-Stampin' Up! Cardstock, and the stamp in Tahitian Tide in the middle. This one's very, very similar again. When I cut this apart, that then gave me six of these pieces. So you'll see several cards like this, and I really like that. That's just so cute to me. Same thing, except the ribbon is just around the circles. There's the blue sequins and the stamped little dandelion pieces. And this is actually a card base that I had probably from Hobby Lobby. This outside blue, you can see those three colors of blue, I think, work well together. It was sturdy enough that I didn't add a white. I just added some of the scrap from cutting down those card bases. This is from the actual card bases, I believe. And just added it for interest on the inside. That same background, this time with the banner. This is one of the banners that came in the kit. You can see that gold border there. Added some of the small dandelions. This is the stamp from the set. Here I added some of those iridescent rhinestones. I thought they looked really cute with it. I brought in some more color. This is on a yellow base, really bright and cheery. And on the inside, because this is Stampin' Up! Cardstock, it's good and sturdy, I just added a strip to decorate it off. I should have kind of grouped these. I didn't. They're just in here as I made them. This is another one of those gilded front pieces, and wrap the twine all the way around the front. This one is actually popped up. I haven't been showing what was popped up or what was flat. If you've seen some of my other videos, you know that most of my cards are mailed, so I do try to keep them pretty flat. I will usually only use one layer of pop dots. Some people will stack and stack and stack, and I don't. So this one was easy to put the twine around the front and let it hide behind there. This is that blue baker's twine. And again, a fairly sturdy card base, so just a strip along the side to add some interest inside. Another one like that. This is a scrap piece, and it wasn't big enough to be a banner, so it's actually cut in the middle, and the two ends are sticking out on the side. I don't know how well I like this. It was a last minute piece, but this is the stamp from the retired stamp set, and then I used the embellishments from the current stamp set, and I did put more than just 3 on it. I felt it needed some down here and up on the card base. Again, the yellow card base with just a little strip on the inside to add interest. I'm kind of looking for the special ones to put them aside. This is the third kind of card base that was in the kit. You can see it's the clouds up front that just kind of fade into white. I really had to look at this one to figure out if this was the top or this was the top, and I finally decided I liked it this direction. But there's some of the embellishments from the kit. There's a couple of the cutouts. This is my own banner that I cut because it was tall enough to use the stamp from the retired set, and then I added just a little bit of that yellow ribbon off here on the side to act as second tails. It's matted on white and then on that non-Stampin' Up! Cardstock. So it's got a white piece, and then Stamped in Tahitian Tide is one of the stamps from the Paper Pumpkin kit. Put those aside. I'm trying, yeah, okay, maybe this is, we'll pull these out, and then we'll look at some of the ones that are a little bit more in depth. So this is just another one that cloudy sky down into the white with the sentiment strip from the kit and the stamp from the kit, the yellow embellishments that I pulled out. This is one of the cutouts that came in the kit, and so I just popped it up on pop dots to give it some, or dimensionals, I need to get used to saying that. Popped it up on dimensionals to give it some texture, some levels there, and then white on the inside with a strip that was cut off from that same sky card, one of these card bases. Okay, so here's if you remember back to the front, the beginning, the yellow card bases that were scored wrong, I actually turned them into what I think they call a book fold. So I put a strip of coordinating paper on the spine, punched a couple holes just in the front part of the card base and the paper, put my blue baker's twine through it. So this is only going through this front piece and the first part of the card base. And then I glued this piece together on the inside. So when it opens, it actually folds here like a book fold. So you've almost got like a little spine happening. It hid the fact that I had misscored those pieces, and I thought it worked really well to highlight just this single element. It gave this a smaller background for this to shine from. That's the sentiment strip from the kit, the stamp from the kit, but I used the crushed curry ink, some of the gold sequins, and then a white layer on the inside with a piece of the paper on the top. So that was a way to use up what I thought was a mistake that might have just ended up as scrap. Same card, just a little bit more. I wanted to try it with a matting layer. So this is matted with white. I left this side plain, but I used that ribbon and did it the same way. Wrapped the ribbon around the misscored spine, glued it down on the inside when I glued the spine together, and then just use this side with the embellishments. I think that's those iridescent rhinestones that I pulled out from my stash. This is on Pop Dot, so is this. Now, you can see here, I tried to make a gap in my foam that's on the sentiment strip. I tried to leave a gap so that the foam covering, or the foam that's underneath this, wouldn't cross over and I'd have 2 layers of foam. Kind of didn't leave it wide enough, or maybe this is the one where I didn't leave a gap at all, and the other one is the one where I did. Yeah, this one I got a better gap in my foam for to set over the flower. This one kind of overlapped a little bit, and so you can see a little bit of a bulge there. That's another reason not to, try to keep your cards layered better so you don't get that. This one, so this is one of the front pieces of the card base. This is the other piece of a card base. So these didn't go together. This was one card base, this was the other. But I wanted to try a kind of a, I don't think you'd call it a fun fold, but I wanted the inside to be pretty too. So I just basically glued, I cut the card front down. I might have left too large of a piece there. Some other people only use like quarter, maybe half of an inch, but that's where I wound up cutting mine down. And I glued this front, or that card base piece, to this for this first part and left them unglued back here. Then I fitted it onto this back piece and glued it down front and back. So that gives a card that's both got the front and the back. I thought that made a nice little transition. It's got the gold sequins, the stamp, and the embellishment, or the sentiment strip from the kit, and just kind of simple. Then on the inside, I used part of the stamp from the Paper Pumpkin kit. And the reason I did put white in this one is because with the stamp, the blue stamp on the yellow paper looked a little green. So I decided I needed the white to be able to stamp on it. And I felt like it really needed something on this side to balance it. So that's how that one came about. This one, I really liked this one for some reason, and it wasn't hard. I may have done the least modifications on this one. It's that same, it's one of the card fronts with the with the sentiment piece that comes with it, the stamp that comes with it. I did add my own embellishments here. These are the embellishments from the kit. I just felt like it needed something blue more on this one. And this is one of the punch outs from the kit. I matted it on a dark blue card front that I had and just put it on a white card. But I think that may be my favorite one. This is probably the closest to one of the original designs for this card. Like, I think this is very similar to what the instructions showed of how to make this card front. And then on the inside, just a piece of scrap from that blue matting layer on the inside. This one I saved purposely for last because this one is a tale of woe. I had in my head what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to have like a cutout and see through and have the sentiment on the inside. And I didn't know what I was doing, and I did every step wrong. So the first thing I did, I took one of my circle pieces from the kit, that's this gold piece here, and I used one of my circle punches and I punched out the middle. And I thought, then I'll glue it down onto the card base, or the card front, and I'll punch it out again. Well, the problem is the neck of the punch wouldn't let me get in there far enough and position it right to get the same hole. So that was problem number one. I could have drug out my Big Shot. I could have probably found some circle dies that would have matched, but I wanted to see if I could do it. So I just took this piece and I held it against my front, this blue piece, drew a circle, traced the circle on the inside, and then used my scissors to cut it out. It wasn't very clean, it wasn't very neat, but it worked. And then I thought, crap, I'm going to have to do that same thing to this white layer and to the yellow layer. Now, I will admit, I almost ditched this card, but it was sheer determination and just hard-headedness that said, no, you started this, you're going to finish it. So I wound up doing that same process to the blue that I did on the blue layer, to the white layer, and to the yellow card base, the front piece of my card base. Then I was proud of myself. I glued my sentiment in. I put a piece of glue tape underneath it, pressed it in from the front side so it will be perfect and, right there and in the center. And I opened it up and I had a horrible mess of different layers, and it just looked horrible over here. I'm not too proud to admit that my first thought was, I'll just put a piece of cardstock over it. And honestly had this piece, or a piece of yellow cardstock, glued and ready to stick over this, which would have completely covered up the circle. That was the whole point. I did catch myself. It did dawn on me what I was doing. And I stopped and I punched the same size hole as was in as I used for this first white sentiment piece. Punched it in the middle and then glued it over to cover up all that roughness, and I think it looks nice. Like I said, this is a card of determination, because there was at least 3 or 4 times when I said, oh, just forget it, stop and move on. And I just couldn't let myself waste it, because I had the idea. After I made it and it was, a little wonky, I thought, okay, this is how it needs to be done better. I need to get out my dies and the Big Shot. I thought about making another one and just didn't, because it's hard to drag out those pieces. If I had been in my craft room, I probably would have, because I do like the way this one came out with the dimension of the embellishment glued on it. This is from the kit. It's got the bling from the kit, and then it's got a bow from the Blue Baker's Twine. So that's how this one turned out. And like I said, I'm glad I kept going. There's a lot of things I learned in this one. I had seen that technique done many times. It was in my head. It just wasn't in my head correctly. So anyway, I wanted to share that one, because that I just want you to take away. Keep going. You can fix almost anything. It's just paper and glue, and you can make it do what you want it to do eventually. So the only other thing that came in this kit, well, not the only other thing, this kit came with a very nice acetate box that you could put the cards in if you wanted to gift them. I know I need to use a few of these. Like I said, recovering from surgery, I've got some thank you cards, some birthday cards, and some get well cards that I want to send to other friends. And so I'll probably wind up using most of these. I did put the acetate box together. I think some of those extra cutouts were to embellish this, but I thought it was better flat, because that way you'd have less to get caught on it and tear it up. These are the envelopes that came with the kit. I do think this is a very pretty flower. I love this additional blue piece, but honestly, I had enough from the card bases to make several cards. I didn't want to salvage or sacrifice the envelopes just to get that blue sky piece. And I'm not a fan of fussy cutting. I'm not that good at it. So I didn't think it was worth, sacrificing the envelopes for pieces I already had and pieces I might not make any better. By the time I fussy cut it out, it might not look as good. So I just left the card bases intact, and they'll go with the better of those cards and be used to mail them off. So that is my walkthrough of the alternatives for this December 2023 paper pumpkin. I hope, again, I inspired you not to just recreate something that I've done, but to look at what you've got, look at what's in the kit, pull out your own parts, pieces, extras, dig in your stash, and come up with ideas to make them your own. We've all, or at least I shouldn't say we all, I love buying craft supplies. I love getting a new package of bling. I love cardstock and paper and all the things. So I could easily just buy and not use. And I want to start making myself use the things I buy, because I want to share them with other people. So good luck. I hope you have a great 2024. I've got a few things I want to do in the new year. I hope you'll join me for that journey, but I hope you have a chance to be creative. I hope you have a great day and be nice to people. Bye.